Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhatanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Chishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Suruto Pangor Mama Mandamate Ragati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohana Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Srimad Ratnagara Simhashanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtalibhi Sevyamano Smarami Srimad Rasarasaramhi Vam Shivata Tatakstitaha Karshana Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshai Kshiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Me Tvam Sharanam Brahmanna Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sahadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my unlimited Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So yesterday we discussed the 8th, 9th, and 10th verses of Upadeshamrita. We discussed how the 8th verse of Upadeshamrita is directly stating by Rupa Goswami himself that what is told in that verse is truly the very essence of all instructions that anyone can receive. That's it in the 8th verse. Then in the 9th and 10th and 11th verses, Srila Rupa Goswami is now presenting the topic of where one can do this essence of all instructions, this performance of kirtan, sukirtananu, and also who are the most elevated personalities. There is a hierarchy, beginning with karmibhya parito hare, karmibhi, meaning those who are following the path of karmakanda. They're in the mode of goodness, they're inclined toward pious activities, but as we learned yesterday, they're indifferent to Bhagavan. So that comparison of the different levels is essential in order to understand how glorious is Sri Radha Kunda. Just like in the 9th verse, all the different places that are located within the entire creation of the material and spiritual worlds have been put forward, right? Beginning with Mathura, right? But higher than Mathura is Vrindavan. Then higher than Vrindavan, superior to Vrindavan, is Govardhan. And superior to Govardhan is Sri Radha Kund and Shama Kund. So therefore Rupa Goswami is asking, who amongst the persons that are considered to be very intelligent, who can discriminate very well, right? Those persons, amongst those persons, who will not serve Sri Radha Kunda and want to reside there. And then in the 10th verse, yes?
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
It seems like that.
We need a, give him the mic. Because we're filming, so they can't hear if you're...
Seems like so many devotees amongst us go to Radha Kunda and they become deviated. You hear the instructions saying we should reside in Radha Kunda. So how do you harmonize that?
Harmonize? What do you mean?
Well, the devotees that go there, they seem to become lost. You know, they go off the path, you know, and they forget what the goal is, basically. Even though Radha Kunda is the goal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you reconcile? I mean, what do we do?
You can tell.
I want to hear your explanation.
I'll hear yours first.
I think myself it's due to the association of devotees that have a different angle, you know, because some of my god brothers, which I don't mention the names, I'm very close to, but they go there and they get into the understanding that, let's say, the Babaji conception, which means the Babaji conception there, not the Babajis in general. But the conception there is that we shoot for the highest first, you know, for, you know, Mahava, for all these higher things first, you know, before we have a solid platform. So it seems like that when they go there, so many devotees go out. I mean, I think it's the lack of the proper conception, I mean the lack of the proper association to me. But that's one point.
Doesn't it say in the verse, in the spiritual body, go to Radha Kund?
That's what we're going to read today. In verse 11. You want to say?
I was going to say, I think we read yesterday, in transcendental consciousness is the secret. And if they go there with mundane conception and impose that on the conceptions that our acharyas have given, then it spoils the whole thing. It's sahaja, prakata sahaja.
Whatever happens to persons who have a deviated motive is not relevant to what the instruction that Rupa Goswami is giving. First, we have to understand that. What happened?
There's a lot of feedback coming.
Oh.
There's a lot of high pitch, like ringing. But now,
really?
Yeah, I was coming off of that one.
Oh, okay. We're studying the instructions of Rupa Goswami himself, who has studied the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and studied all Shastras. He's presenting the actual process. Upadeshamrita is the process. And it emanated, as we heard yesterday, and we're going to hear it today, it emanated from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in Jagannath Puri. And Rupa Goswami wrote it down, and then he composed these verses. So, what you're saying is quite true. And actually our acharyas are, they're always addressing this, actually. They're always addressing it. Some are addressing it simply by not enabling their disciples to simply go there on their own, by their own volition, in their independent mood. Like Srila Prabhupada, he didn't really have to say much about it. But he knew that this was a great danger. Like, you know, even the situation that happened in 1975.
Nitai.
Huh?
Nitai?
No. No, there's quite a number of things to show that. But I'm just talking about even the reading of the Chaitanya Charitamrita when it first came out. Some devotees were gathering together in a group in LA, you know, and a lot of them were like involved on the press. And now that the Chaitanya Charitamrita is coming out, they wanted to read it. There was no fault in that, actually. But one of the leaders there, he wanted to bring this up to Srila Prabhupada. And he brought it up in a way that, oh, these persons, they're doing this. Is this authorized? Like that. So, although they really weren't trying to go in the direction of Prakrita Sahajism or anything like that, they just simply wanted to study and hear what Chaitanya Charitamrita. But nevertheless, because the subject was brought up, Srila Prabhupada addressed it, you know, and he began to explain that, because they gave it a little nickname, the Gopi Bhav Club. You know, the leaders gave this nickname to it, Gopi Bhav Club. And to this day, you know, in that institution, they have a over paranoia. I mean, it's one thing to understand that if you try to go higher than your adhikar, and you try to approach the higher topics, especially without guidance, yes, you should be very careful about that. But it's another thing to actually completely restrict the sincere devotees who have been following the process, who have been making advancement. They've been in the movement 15, 20 years or longer. And now the taste, and like Gurudev said, I see that now in some devotees, there is some appetite coming, you see. So it's that can be noticed by Sri Guru, and he can properly direct that. But even in Gurudev's presence, there was deviation of devotees going, even during Kartik, going there independently and so forth. And practically any one of the Western devotees that went there and became associated with certain individuals who were giving a completely unauthorized and unacceptable to our line of acharyas, this false Siddha Pranali, which Gurudev would mention many times. So all of them, they all became materially lusty. Every single case. They all fell down. None of them remained. You know, so the warning is there. Warning is there.
Prabhupada wrote a letter about that. And
the mic.
Prabhupada wrote a letter addressing the Gopi Bhava Club.
Yeah.
And one thing he said in the letter was that if you reject your bona fide spiritual master, your whereabouts are unknown.
That's right. And we have certain cases of particular individuals. I'm not going to get into that right now, and their names and so forth, but yes. So you've raised a relevant point, but we should also know the glories of Sri Radhakunda. We should know how our acharyas have framed the reference of Radhakunda as being the topmost place. And we should give it that full regard, even if we're not physically there. You know. So in the realm of Krishna's pastimes, there is no higher place than Sri Radhakunda. And so we should always very reverentially, we should approach that topic with very, very great respect and humility, and understanding that we have no real qualification whatsoever to approach there. So only in that mood. But the problem with the Babajis, in general, the Babaji conception, quote unquote, is that they try to suggest to absolute neophyte devotee. I've seen it. They try to suggest to them that here's your spiritual body, you know, you should meditate, here's your name, and so forth. Not one single person has attained anything except for making offenses and fallen. Does it mean that there's not a bona fide process for a bona fide qualified individual? Of course not, there is. There is. But that is kept carefully concealed, whereas the Prakrita Sahajiyas dive headlong as if they have qualification, and they simply commit offenses. So now we're going to read the last verse, the concluding verse of Sri Upadeshamrita, in which Sri Radhakund is explained the actual glories of Sri Radhakunda. So Sri Rupa Goswami is writing, Krishna Syochai Pranaya Vasati Preyasi Bhyo Piradha Kundam Chasya Munibir Abitas Tadrig Eva Vyadahayi Yat Preshtair Apialam Asulabham Kim Punar Bhakti Bhajam Tat Premedam Sakridapi Sara Snatur Avishkaroti. So the translation: after thorough deliberation on the matter, the sages have unanimously declared in the Padma Purana that just as amongst all the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost object of Sri Krishna's great love, in precisely the same way, this pond of hers is also the topmost object of his love. This is concluded by all the greatest sages. They have all come to this conclusion after thorough deliberation. They have understood from the quotations in the Shastras, such as the Padma Purana, with that verse that's already been quoted, Yata Radha Priya Vishnos Tasyam Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopeshu Saivaika Vishnur Atyanta Vallabha. So, upon one, now Rupa Goswami is saying, Yat Preshtar Apyalam Asulabam Kim Punar Bhakti Bhajam Tat Premedam Sakrid Api Sara snatur avishkaroti. Snatur means upon one who simply bathes in its waters with great devotion. Sakridapi means only once. Sakridapi means only once. Tat premedam, that prem that is even difficult for very great exalted personalities, it can be attained by this. Srirad, upon one who simply bathes in its waters, just once with great devotion, Sri Radha Kunda bestows that rare treasure of Gopi Prem, which is so immensely difficult to attain, even for such dear devotees of Bhagavan as Narad. What to speak of ordinary sadhaks? This is the verse. So now, the first commentary of Radharaman Goswami. He's telling, it is only natural at this point to become eager to learn what special commodity can be attained by taking exclusive shelter of the limitless, glorious Sri Radha Kunda. So it's natural to become eager to learn. What is that special commodity that can be attained? Because already Radha Kunda has been shown to be the highest place, right? And it's also overflowing in the previous verse. It's completely overflowing with that prem, that Gopi prem, Srimati Radhika's prem. It's overflowing with that. So, therefore, what can be attained by taking exclusive shelter of the limitless, glorious Sri Radha Kunda? Quote, the fruit of such exclusive devotion is the topmost variety of Krishna prem. Topmost variety of Krishna prem. Sri Rupa Goswami is concluding his composition by affirming this philosophical principle, Siddhanta. The prem being spoken of here is extremely difficult to achieve, even for such exalted and dear devotees of Bhagavan as Narad. In other words, this most elevated, radiant, divine love, Unnata Ujjvala Prem, that the Braja Gopis possess for Sri Krishna, is not only difficult for such dear devotees to attain, it is actually impossible. Sri Radha Kunda bestows this very prem upon one who bathes in its waters with a mood of special love and devotion. Here, Sri Radha Kund is both the Svayam Karta, that means the one who directly bestows that prem upon the devotees. Radha Kund is in that position. But also Radha Kund is the Vishai, means the object of the devotee's love. Who would not take shelter of this Radha Kunda? In other words, any devotee skilled in the art of performing bhajan and sincerely desirous of achieving the topmost prem would certainly do so. Does that make sense? Right? Who would not take shelter of this Radha Kunda? If someone is in the category that he's a devotee skilled in the art of performing bhajan and sincerely desirous of achieving the topmost prem, he would certainly do so. Like we say in the West, it's a no-brainer. You know? So relying upon a particle of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, I have composed this commentary as far as my intelligence allows, in order to increase the transcendental pleasure of his devotees. This servant of the Sri Radha Raman deity and the son of Sri Govardhan Lal, named Radha Raman Das, I hereby concludes his commentary named Upadesha Prakashika on Sri Rupa Goswami Sri Upadeshamrita. So now comes Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Piyusha Varshini Vritti. Having described the natural glory of Sri Radha Kunda in the previous verse, this 11th verse has been composed with the intention of making steadfast faith in Sri Radha Kund arise within the hearts of sadhaks. Srimati Radhika is Sri Krishna's dear most beloved, and in all respects more exalted than all his other beloveds. In the scriptures, the sages, the munis, have described Sri Radha Kunda's eminence in the same way. Sri Radha Kunda easily bestows upon one who bathes in its waters that rare prem, which is not only immensely difficult for sadhaks to attain, but also difficult for premi bhaktas like Narad to achieve. Therefore, Sri Radha Kunda alone is the most suitable place of residence for those endeavoring for perfection in their bhajan. The jiva who has overcome the influence of matter and who has attained his inner perfected spiritual form as a gopi, a prakrita gopi deha, that jiva should reside in the mood of a maidservant, Paliyadasi of Srimati Radhika, on the banks of transcendental Sri Radha Kunda, in the divine land of Braj, a prakrita Vraj, in the resplendent grove, Kunja, of the spiritual master, who is situated in his eternal form as a female friend, Guru Rupa Saki, of Sri Radha Krishna. Living there, the pure spirit soul of Prakrita Jeev should externally take constant shelter of chanting Harinam. Internally, in his spiritually perfected eternal form as a gopi, he should render service to Srimati Radhika while deeply meditating on Sri Krishna's eightfold daily pastimes, Ashtakali Lila. This is the culmination of bhajan for the devotees who have taken shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet.
And sets the standard that
Yes.
makes it fall pretty high.
So now is the Anuvriti, the final comment of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And there he continues with what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling and becomes very, very specific. That's why the point that you raised, this completely smashes that as being not at all acceptable. So now Prabhupada is telling, Srimati Radhika is Sri Krishna's dear most beloved. Because in the verse, in the first line, it says, Krishnas yochai pranaya vasati preyasi bhyo piradha. That statement is being made in the first line of this verse. That Krishnas yochai pranaya vasati preyasi bhyo piradha. So many adjectives are here. Krishnasya uchai means topmost amongst Krishna's preshta, amongst his dear most, right? Pranaya vasati means the topmost object of Krishna's pranay, of Krishna's love. Preyasibhyo, this means superlative case, most dear, Radha. Then in the second line, Kundam Chasya Munibir Abitas Tadrig Eva Yadai. Munibir Abitas means as told by the great Munis. As much as Srimati Radhika is dear in this position, so her bathing pond. So Srimati Radhika is Sri Krishna's dearmost beloved and the crest jewel of those who are dear to him. In the scriptures, the devotee sages have described Sri Radha Kunda as being Sri Krishna's foremost beloved object, as dear to him as Srimati Radhika herself. The topmost love for Bhagavan, Gopi Prem, is exceedingly difficult even for dearly beloved devotees of Bhagavan, such as Narad, to attain. So what to speak of how difficult it is for devotees still in the practitioner stage, sadhak bhaktas, to achieve that rare praying. But very easily, Sri Radha Kunda bestows this praying upon one who bathes in its waters just once. Now, in the next paragraph, he's going to tell what that constitutes. Bathing in Radha Kunda's waters just once. So someone may think, well, it says right here, just once. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to bathe. And then I'm going to attain this. So now, Prabhupada says, Sri Radha Kunda is full of praying, and indeed is actually comprised of waters of nectarine praying. By transcendentally residing, which is called aprakrita vas, transcendentally residing. By transcendentally residing, aprakrita vas, on the banks of Sri Radha Kunda, and by transcendentally bathing, aprakrita snan. What kind of bathing? Transcendental, aprakrita snan. By transcendentally bathing in its waters, one will obtain the topmost praying. What is meant by aprakrita vas? What is meant by aprakrita vas and aprakrita snan? Now he's going to explain. Remaining thoroughly aloof from all desires for material sense enjoyment, one should constantly perform deep meditational worship, manasa bhajan, in strict devotion to Srimati Radhika for the duration of one's life. After shedding this material body, one will attain an eternal spiritual body and be intently engaged in direct eternal service to Srimati Radhika. Only one who bathes in Sri Radha Kunda in this way attains the topmost praying. Obtaining such good fortune is exceedingly difficult, even for such exalted premi devotees as Narad. It is extremely difficult even for the perfected devotees who eternally serve Krishna in the devotional mellows, rasas of dasya, servitude, sakya, friendship, and vatsalya, parenthood, to bathe in Sri Radha Kunda, oh, what to speak of worldly-minded persons? What more can possibly be said of the glories of taking a prakrita snan in Sri Radha Kunda? Those who bathe there obtain good fortune that excels all the way up to becoming maid servants of Sri Varshabhanavi Srimati Radhika. Sorry, that extends all the way up, not excels. I'll read that again. Those who bathe there obtain good fortune that extends all the way up to becoming maid servants of Sri Varshabhanavi Srimati Radhika. So that's his explanation of the verse. What do we understand from this so far? There's more to, he's ending his purport. But up to this point, what we've read, what do we understand so far? What can easily be concluded by hearing and reading these three different commentaries on this verse?
Sri Radha Kund is the highest place in the universe, and it's not different from Srimati Radhika. But to achieve the benefit of bathing in Radha Kund, one has to be advanced in bhajan and has to have realization of his own spiritual identity, and then one can fully absorb himself in the all the way up to being a maidservant of Srimati Radhika.
You want to add anything?
I'll make one point about Prabhupada one time when, I don't know if you were there that year, but the devotees went there, and all of a sudden they all were very eager to go to Radha Kunda. They went there and they started doing cannonballs into Radha Kunda.
I heard about it, I wasn't there.
You were there? When we got back...
Were you there?
I was there.
Was Prabhupada there with you?
No, he was in, he stayed in Krishna Bhava Mandir, but we were there. I was a little bit, I thought, does this seem right? I mean, they were happy, they were joyful, they were jumping in.
Yeah.
By the time we got back, they had told Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, they have not bathed in Radha Kund, they have bathed in Narakunda.
Which Kunda?
Narak.
Narak.
Kund.
Which means what?
Hell. Hellish mentality. I don't know if he forbid it, but devotees were scared after that. And they were trying to enjoy Radha Kund. So when he says a prakriti snan, what does this mean? If you take the levels of Srila Maharaj, there are 5 different levels, like pratyaksha, direction, adhoksha, and aprakrita. What is a prakrita? Prakriti says is almost the same as material. It's like, Krishna's got a body, forearms, etc. like that. It's Naralila. And that's the sweetest in Naralila.
Human-like. Not about.
Yeah, not about cool, not about, So there is, it's like, we obviously have the body when we go there, what are we going to do? But we have to get rid of this conception of wanting to enjoy Radha Kunda just as much as we wanted to enjoy Srimati Radhika. Like we're going to challenge Krishna or Srimati Radhika. So the same thing, trying to enjoy something that is a most dearmost object to her. It's like that. It's very offensive to so approach Radha Kunda in that mentality. They said, Srila, I heard one time when I went there one of the first times, one of the older devotees was around during Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's time. He said, Actually, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came, he never entered in Radhakund. He'd always like bend down and by taking drops on his head. He never touched his feet like that.
He was showing by example.
By example like that. So it's remarkable because even I, in my mundane conception, when people were jumping in like this and doing all these activities, even I felt a little tension like, wow, is this correct? And when you go there and you sit down in Radhakund for a long time, it's a very powerful experience, no doubt. You know? So, I mean, we have to approach it without an enjoying mentality. That's also very high. You know? It's very high. So anyway, that aprakita snan, you know? It's just like
in the prakita deha.
Yeah, in the prakita,
both.
In the prakita deha.
Yes. And a prakrita vas.
Yes.
To
actually do it, and you have to be, have your manjari sarup, you have to have fully realizing that your Siddhadeha, to take that there, actually that has to come gradually, you know. And the Guru, he'll give it, but in our Gaudiya conception, usually they don't give it all at once, 11 Ekadash Bhavs. It's bit by bit, like that, because that's the way we're progressing. You know? So that's what I pointed out. So
I remember once I was the only one at Radhakund because it was pouring rain.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday.
And I went in with such awe and reverence and prayer. Isn't there some benefit in that?
Well, now if we want to discuss benefit, that's another topic. On one hand, we're discussing the attainment of the ultimate praying. But if we want to discuss benefit, that's another topic which we can discuss. And we can. Did you want to say anything on this? Whatever you've understood or...
Just to add that the verse says that Radhakund is as dear to Krishna as Radharani herself.
Yes, yes. So, you know, you raised this infamous incident, which we've known of all through the years, about how Srila Prabhupada became quite upset when he heard how the devotees were using Radha Kunda as a sports place to dive in and frolic in the waters. And yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing that. And also understanding at that point how actually one has to be extremely careful in such sacred place. Because as we are learning from Upadeshamrita, the waters are non-different from the body of Srimati Radhika. So a very reverential mood must be there, like not trying to make big splashes and kicking one's feet and all of that. That is not the process. Now, Prabhupada, it's true, at that time he restricted. He restricted. In general he didn't, but at that time he restricted the devotees from bathing directly, fully. And he also mentioned about his own Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which we told yesterday. He would go there and only take some of the water on his head while standing on the bank and offering prayers and so forth. Now, the only time that I was fortunate, the first time that I was fortunate to come there, to Radhakund, we were actually with Srila Gurudev in that 1994 parikrama. You were there too. And so, you know, and I was wondering what we should do. So, Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai, Jai Shri Jagannath. Now, because we're with Srila Gurudev, we're completely under his guidance. And, you know, there was 200 or 300 devotees. And so Gurudev, first of all, stood on the banks. He himself didn't go in, but he stood on the banks and went first on the bank of Radhakunda, and we sang Kripakataksha Stavaraj for Srimati Radhika. And then after that, and also puja was done with incense and ghee lamp and so forth, flowers. Then we moved to the other side of the Sangam and then performed the same to Shamakund. And then we came back to Radhakund after that, and then Gurudev said, so now you may bathe. So the mood, of course, was not a raucous, trying to enjoy. It was very, very reverential. And every single parikrama that we've gone, we have also bathed there in the same way. In the same way.
Holding on to the chain as you go down the steps.
Yeah.
There has to be some drawing on this and from them. It seems like they're so soft. It's not the full benefit, obviously, but something must come.
What comes? What is the benefit that comes?
Some scars and purification.
I think that indelible particle of praying will always be in your mind, will always stick there. Just like even those devotees that didn't bathe there properly, still it sticks out of my mind what happened first. So if you do it like in such a way, with reverence, it's going to stick like the whole emotion, the vibrancy of Radhakundi. Even that one little part, it will always be there. And that's a particle of praying.
A particle of praying?
Yeah. Gurudev says in Mahabhav, it comes on one drop all the way down to faith, Shraddha.
Shraddha, yeah.
So that Shraddha,
the last fraction, Gurudev said.
That Shraddha will be awakened.
I know when I went there that time, it left a very deep samskara for me. But I wasn't with Gurudev. I was thinking of Gurudev, but I know, I can't deny that some benefit was there. It was a very sweet and special time, and I can't speak philosophically like Tirtha, but I just know, even from a sentimental point of view, that something was there, some reciprocation, this tiny little crazy jiva is going in and trying to reverentially take shelter. Let me give him a little mercy, something like that.
Just a question.
By the way, did you ever have that chance yet to go to
Radhakund? Yes, yes.
Okay.
So we're discussing the benefit of doing that. So then there's, it seems like there's an immediate perception that you've received some benefit from that. Obviously, there's always the long-term benefit in all of our sadhana. But so, you know, the appreciation, that's the immediate benefit of bathing there. Some feeling of, you know, reverence, that's the immediate benefit.
Good question. So now I ask a question in answer to the question, in the process of answering it. So we just discussed the benefit of going to Radhakund and bathing in Radhakund. What about the benefit of, prior to bathing in Radhakund, doing Govardhan Parikrama of the entire Govardhan, under guidance, with kirtan, residing next to Govardhan for so many days, hearing directly from the pure devotee, and traversing each and every place around Govardhan, paying obeisances, taking the dust on our heads, praying, all of this. What's the benefit of that?
Well, the prayers by Raghunath Das Goswami, where he's praying, please give me a residence by your side. If we're going around with that mentality and those prayers of the acharyas and trying to pray that they come into our heart, there has to be something that touches us. Something. When I bathe my Giriraj, I say those prayers, and there's something there. But I'm not learned enough to.
And then what about getting on the buses, going to various places in Braj during the month of Kartik, under the guidance of Mahabhagavad Vaishnava, hearing, doing kirtan, touching these places, meditating upon these places, hearing the Katha of the pastimes in these places. What about that?
Well, like in class this morning at 11 o'clock, the question came up about Harinam, and both Sudevi and Kishore mentioned that if we're chanting through Gurudev, then the benefit of Harinam is there. So similarly, if we're meditating that we're going under the guidance of Gurudev and praying that something will come in our heart, Prajodhya, then there has to be some reciprocation. But through the medium of Gurudev.
So, what do you think, KK? The question we've been discussing is what benefit comes, because we just read the 11th shloka, how one will attain the highest prema by bathing even once in Radha Kunda. But of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada specified what that bathing, what type of bathing it will be.
Well, in regards to that specifically, I was thinking is you all were discussing what it was like to be with Gurudev there at Radhakund and Shamakund, chanting these astakams. Radha Kripa Kataksha Stavaraj and Srinandanandan Astakam, saying these prayers at Radhakund and Shamakund, and everybody trying to be connected to Gurudev, everyone holding on to somebody who's holding on to Gurudev's cloth. And so it felt like Gurudev was setting that goal and the mood of that goal and how to approach that place. And like Gurudev was creating this impression and training for like how to have this, how to pray for this highest attainment, and how to come to this place with a mood that's actually beneficial for attaining that highest goal under the guidance of the pure Vaishnava.
So what was attained by doing that?
I guess some desire in the core of your heart to have that, because it's so dear to Gurudev, so dear to Gurudev, some samskars, so dear to Gurudev, so you want that too. You know, that desire to be connected with Gurudev in that moment becomes stronger and stronger by that impression. So I'd say a little bit of, and maybe a little bit of greed for that comes.
Oh, okay.
But
you want to say anything on that?
Not saying I have that.
No, we didn't hear you say that you have it. Don't worry. You gotta sit closer because.
Well, I'm not really sure about a specific benefit or anything like that, but I just asked Keke. I overheard Kishori Mohan telling her during lunch today. I didn't get the whole context of everything, but it was being discussed about benefits that arise. Like this is the perfect example. And Kishori Mohan mentioned that to not think that you're, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but to not think that you're receiving any benefit or making any progress would almost be an aparad to that holy place.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just wanted to say that because I heard that during lunch today.
Right.
Gurudev also said, I remember hearing that he would say that after Kartik, he would receive many letters from devotees who had been there for parikrama, and then afterwards they'd write and they'd be like, oh, I felt like so good and inspired during Kartik, but now already I'm struggling so much. And Gurudev would say, why are they saying this? They don't know. They can't see what has actually taken place. I can see, but they cannot see. So I think that also, just pertaining to what Damodar said, that even if we can't directly see the benefit, we have faith that that benefit is there because that pure Vaishnav brought us with him. Even if we are not able to do anything ourselves, if we're helplessly crying and Guru is taking us, then that benefit has to be there. Even if we, as fallen conditioned jivas, can't understand that or recognize that on our own, Guru and Vaishnavas are seeing that and they're taking care of us and trying to help us on the path of bhakti by guiding us in this way.
Didn't Gurudev say that even if you don't have the right prayer, I am praying for you?
Say that again?
Even if you don't have the proper desire, because you are with me, you will get the proper benefit of being there.
Yeah. Something more.
More. I can never forget the first time I went a parikrama around Radha, the Gurudev. For some reason we came around to just before Mahaprabhu's Baitik, and all of a sudden I dropped my head and I was thinking, looking a little depressed, like, what's going on,
Who's?
I was going and they were having a big kirtan. Gurudev was leading it actually.
Right.
And all of a sudden I just kind of dropped my head and I'm thinking something like this, feeling like out of place. Everyone's so happy with me, And I'm looking like this here. All of a sudden Gurudev came up to me and goes, Haribo! 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 And then he started jumping up and down in front of me and I go, oh my God, Haribo! Haribo! He woke me up too. So it's like that, you're in a transcendental place so high, the highest bliss. Your head is looking down like you're depressed. Gurudev just brought me back up. I never forget that look in Gurudev's face and jumping up and down like that at Radhakund. That's the benefit of being such a personality.
I think it's so important to always remember that, like Gurudev told me, on my own, I can't chant, I can't remember, I can't do anything. So please make me yours.
Gurudev told to you.
He told me that. I asked him, can you tell me what's wrong with me? And he said, that I will tell you in Badger. But the next day, there was a small darshan in Madhavi's house, and I could see he was responding to my question, and he said, can you explain Gurudev Kripa Bindadeya? And I started to do it, and he said, not like a poet, he said, every day this must come from the core of your heart. He said, Krishna is everywhere and so is Guru, and they're so anxious to give mercy, but we don't want. And then he asked, what is Atma Santa? And the answer was, make me yours, but he elaborated. He said, on my own I can't chant, I can't dance, I can't remember, I can't do anything, so please make me yours. So everything through the medium of our Gurudev, and then hopefully by his grace, then will touch our heart.
So what is the objective of our attempts? Going there, doing parikrama, going to Kartik, all of these activities. What is our objective? What are we trying to accomplish or attain by doing that?
To increase our... to increase our desire to attain the goal of service to Radha and Krishna as a maidservant of Srimati.
To increase our desire. Why? We're doing this year after year. You did.
Because nothing else means anything. Everything else is empty. It's our nature. It's who we are. And they asked, Gurudev asked in Malaysia, what is our ultimate necessity? And the devotees, half joking, were saying, food, shelter, this. Gurudev said, no, it's love and affection. Because by nature, we are tiny particles of love and affection, meant for the complete love and affection of Radha and Krishna. So that's our aim in doing our activities, to increase that loving mood, that selfless, loving service mood to Radha and Krishna, Goloka Vrindavan.
But what did we attain? We attained that.
Well, like Gurudev said, we can't see the progress we're making, but he can see.
But what did we attain?
I attained a really sweet samskar when I went into Radhakunda that time.
Yeah.
It's still with me today. Every time I circuit, we say Shamakunda, Radhakunda. I remember that moment.
And even not going physically, like now. We're not there, right? We're not there in Braj Mandala. We're here in a very auspicious place, Holy Tirtha, right? But we're not there. We're not in Braj Mandala. But yet, we're doing these activities during this whole month, chanting Damodar Astakam and the other Astakams, and doing more kirtan than usual, and studying and hearing about the Braj Mandala Parikrama and Hari Katha and all of that. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that during this very particular time period, right? Everybody, all the devotees here, they know that this is the month of Kartik and we're supposed to do these activities. But is there something perceptible that the devotees are experiencing from doing this?
Aren't we supposed to not be attached to what we're getting, but to what we're giving? In other words, I'm chanting Hare Krishna and I know, God, I'm not getting anything or something, but if I think, how much am I bringing to the holy name? That's ever increasing. And that mentality, if that develops, that's the fruit of serving and going to all these holy places.
So I'm going to try to give my
Please do.
Understanding of this. Srila Gurudev has pointed out many times when we've been there with him. He said, this is an opportunity for many of you, because a lot are living as householders, and they don't have the opportunity to be 24 hours engaged in these activities, right? You know, some are where they live, they're doing their sadhana every day, some are not. But Gurudev is saying that by engaging our senses in these activities at this time, this very time period, just like Ekadasi is a time period, there's special potency and benefit. So there are different time periods which Krishna has arranged. The month of Kartik is the month of Srimati Radhika. She is the predominating deity of the month of Kartik. And all activities are meant to be aimed at pleasing Srimati Radhika. So, Hari Bhakti Vilas, Srila Sanatana Goswami has very specifically written how to observe Kartik Vrat, Urja Vrat, how to perform Brajamandala Parikrama, what are things that are forbidden to do during that time, and so forth. All the rules and regulations are there, which are part of the process of endeavoring in the pathway of Uttama Bhakti. The definition verse, we all know well, that definition verse is telling Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama. What is this endeavor to do Uttama Bhakti? It is Anukul, first of all, favorable. Everything that is favorable for serving Krishna, and Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. And Anushilanam, first of all, it means engaging our senses. It's a kind of practice. Shilanam, forget the exact term that's used. Shilanam. It's a practice of engaging our senses, our mind, our words, and our emotions. Those four things. Tanman Vacha, and our moods, our emotions. In the activities that are for Krishna's benefit. Bhakti means acting for Krishna's benefit. And all of the activities of bhakti are designed by the acharyas. How to inspire, how to instill that mood of devotion and dedication for Krishna, not for ourselves, for Krishna. Krishna Anushilanam, Anukul, Krishna, favorable for Krishna, right? And then, of course, the other Anyavilashita Shunyam, devoid of other desires, that we just heard Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada telling. This is not an easy thing to execute. It has to be cultivated. Yeah, that's the word, cultivation, anushilana, a cultivation. Constant cultivation. Upadeshamrita are the instructions. How to, step by step, enter into that position of doing everything that's favorable and rejecting everything that's unfavorable, right? The 6 things that are favorable, 6 things that are unfavorable, the 6 vegams, urges, controlling, the 6 types of holy association, and then associating with the Vaishnavas and being able to discern what level the Vaishnavas are on and accordingly give respect to them, right? These are all practices in the line of trying to apply Uttama Bhakti within our lives. We have had the experience in our life of coming from a completely non-devotional upbringing in the West, you know, and how we came into the association of the Vaishnavas, how we began to engage our senses in chanting and hearing and kirtan and everything. We've all had the experience of how uplifting, how purifying, how powerful this is, spiritually powerful, how so many realizations have come, some transcendental knowledge, some understanding, deep understanding, right? And in this way, our life has come into this line of anugatya, of following the pure Vaishnavas. The pure Vaishnavas, who are Uttama Bhaktas, and who are in a very high level of bhav, or even in the madhyam level of ruchi asakti, they're completely absorbed 24 hours a day, right? So as one begins to approach this ultimate goal of our life, because there's 2 things. There's the goal, and there's the process to attain that goal. That's what Mahaprabhu was requesting to hear from Srila Ramananda Roy, right? So he asked him, please tell me what is the sadhya, the goal, and what is the sadhana to attain it. The whole conversation is based upon that, right? So, the fortunate jivas who, by dint of samskaras from previous life, and also in this life, samskaras, developing the favorable impressions. This alone is the process through which we can gradually attain these higher stages. Without the samskaras, it's not possible. Even in the Vedic system, the Vedic civilization, people are being given an opportunity to begin somewhere, right, at any level, and to gradually go upwards, to progress. So, different jivas come into the association, let's say, for example, coming into the association of Srila Gurudev on his Brajamandala parikramas, and he traveled around the world and invited devotees to come. And the devotees who were coming are of many different levels, right? Some are brand new, or some even were in India, and devotees met them and said, hey, you should come, we have this thing going on, you know. I've seen that happen a lot too. But Krishna is controlling the wandering of the jivas. And Krishna is arranging for how they will get this association, how they will gradually advance, right? Step by step, they'll advance. And they'll come into the higher stages. They'll go through the stages of anartana vritti by performing bhajana kriya, right? Under the guidance of Guru. So some may be performing on the very beginning stages of bhajana kriya. Some are performing in more accomplished stages of bhajana kriya. They have more impressions in their heart. They've learned how to live their life without deviating, without falling into ordinary material sense enjoyment and so forth. So each devotee is progressing like this. Gurudev brought the devotees, encouraged everyone to come. Why? Because they will get some samskaras that even they are not aware of. This is the power of the Dham. Those who advance somewhat, they become more perceptive to be able to perceive, actually. I can say that after traveling year after year after year, all those years, going around the world and coming back to the Dham and being with Gurudev, and then another parikrama, and then another parikrama, I became it became very clear to me that there's no other place on the whole planet like the Dham. There's no other place. You cannot find any place where there is such an atmosphere, such a powerful mood, right? There is no other place. So by this we can also even perceive it in the more elementary stages. What to speak of somebody that's advanced and is coming into the stage of ruchi, asakti, how they perceive. That's what's being discussed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in his purport here, are those who are coming to those higher stages. They're beginning to realize their internal spiritual form. All these things are coming. There is greed, intense greed. And those persons, when they go, and they're completely absorbed 24 hours a day, that's the aprakrita snan. See? This is not a cheap thing. It's not something that anybody and everybody can do just by physically going into the waters and so forth. But the physical going into the waters, you know, it's just like the difference between a exalted Bhav Bhakta worshipping Thakurji and an ordinary neophyte. An ordinary neophyte is feeling something, but he's not able to fully perceive how Krishna is directly here. But the Bhav Bhakta can, right? They can directly perceive. They can have conversations with the Lord, you know. but the practicing sadhak in the stage of Vaidhi, sadhana bhakti. They're being engaged under the direction of Sri Guru. Extremely beneficial for them in those stages. They also have to be careful. That's why Rupa Goswami wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that there are 64 limbs of bhakti. There are also 64 offenses that have to be avoided, right? And then Upadeshamrita is there and so forth. So for the neophyte devotees, by gradually practicing, their mind becomes purified, their senses become purified. And just like Prabhupada wrote in his prayer on Boston Harbor, quoted the 5 shlokas, right? And Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Pridyantaksto Yavadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Braishu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobha Dayaschaye Cheta Etairana Vidham Stitam Sattve Prasidati. Like this. This is what the process is accomplishing. Bhagavatam is clearly telling, if one does this, they will come into this process, into the Uttam Bhakti process. But it has to be gradual, just like we heard, who told? Shari Mohan, or no, who told Prabhu in your class yesterday morning, or this morning, about how Gurudev said you have to go step by step, right? You have to go step by step. So there's always benefit. This is the thing. There's always benefit. But the degree of that depends upon the sincerity, the mood, the degree of surrender. All these factors are there. But nevertheless, just coming to the Holy Dham, coming into the association with Vaishnava, doing it's so powerful. And it enables somebody to practice that consistently for 30 days non-stop. And then Gurudev expresses, now continue the rest of the year. Go back to your places, continue. But, so everyone is benefiting. We get so much benefit. And I'm sure that each and every devotee can kind of, like you've been doing, describe your own experience, But what we want is we want to advance and go beyond the stage of anartha vritti, come into nishta, and gradually into ruchi, and ultimately, we want to attain the stage of bhav. That's what sadhana is. That's what sadhana is. So, many devotees will have different obstacles, just like anishtita bhajan. Anishtita bhajan has so many varieties of unsteadiness and so forth. But the only way is to progress, to have determination. Utsahan, nishchaya, dhairyat, tata karma pravartana, sangha tyaga, sato vritte, sadbir bhakti prasiddhati. We have to have that. We have to endeavor for that. Then the result will come more perceptibly than ever, right? But inasmuch as we're not following the process, then our bhakti will be harmed, and then so many offenses will be committed, and like this. So gradually, step by step. You were going to, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about how every Kartik Gurudev would express so much, like, I don't want to say gratitude, but I would say, like, you've undergone so many difficulties. Mm-hmm. You're walking barefoot. You're used to your soft American beds, Mm-hmm. And he would say, like, don't tell anybody about all these difficulties. But Gurudev would also, it seemed as if he was expressing so much, like, I don't know, appreciation in a way, maybe that these devotees are coming and they're undergoing, mm-hmm. even though it's the highest best thing. What are some material difficulties for them? So I was just wondering about, like, how does performing these activities, even if that mood is not really developed, how does performing these activities under the direction of Guru increase that Guru's mercy towards the disciple who is endeavoring, So, like, even if you're not able to go to Braj Mandal, or if you're going and your mood is not there, but you're, like, trying, you're walking barefoot, and you're, like, your feet are in pain, but you're still going to Braj Mandal and you're still doing all these things. How are making these endeavors, trying to follow the order of Guru, increasing the mercy that the Guru is having for the disciple, right?
Yeah.
May I say something?
You want to answer that?
Can I respond to that?
Sure, go ahead.
It seems to me from our perspective that our objective is to melt the heart of Guru and Krishna by our endeavor. And, you know, the two fingers, the endeavor and the mercy. And like with Mother Yasoda, she melted Krishna's heart by her endeavor. So I was there one year in Navadvip, and Krishna saw that we were walking, Gurudev saw that we were walking on stones. There was one point where I wouldn't even move. It was so hot. I just said, I'm not taking another step. But, and then at the end, at the yoga pit, he said, so you Western boys and girls, you have come and you're undergoing so much hardship, walking in the hot stones and stepping. It's difficult for you. He said, I know. He said, by this endeavor, you must get Krishna Prem. The only qualification, no Vaishnava Paran. No Vaishnava Paran.
So your question was about how can Gurudev, how can we draw his mercy?
Even if we don't have a mood, but we're just...
Even if we don't have a what?
Even if we don't have like a very high mood, even if we're being like, Gurudev, I don't have any mood here, but still I'm praying to you that you'll give me this mood, and I'm coming and I'm trying to do these things, and I'm sitting in the temple, or I'm going on parikrama, or I'm doing this and that, and like, you know, these heartfelt moods are not coming, but still we're endeavoring. And how does that endeavor draw the mercy of Guru? Like, so Guru's mercy is for everyone, right? But like, how does Guru's mercy towards someone increase by their endeavor? Like, you can't endeavor for the, you know what I mean? Like, by our own endeavor, we can't do anything. But how does our endeavor get Guru to have more mercy towards that person?
Well, what you're specifically saying is somebody that's actually physically in the presence of Sri Guru, right?
Or even if Sri Guru is not physically present,
Okay,
we're still
so that's
making that.
Okay, even if Guru is not present. So, you know, every day we are praying. We say our Ashtakams, we say our Gurvashtakam, we pay our obeisances, we worship, do Guru Puja, we honor Sri Guru, we serve Krishna. We try to live our lives according to what Sri Guru has told us to do, right? And it is not that he is not watching. This is the thing that a neophyte devotee has to come to realize, is that Sri Guru is in the heart, like Paramatma, and is aware of everything. There is no possibility that a sincere devotee who's endeavoring honestly, sincerely, praying to Sri Guru, trying to please Sri Guru, trying to follow his instructions, that Guru will not know that. Okay? So, in the devotees' lives, whether they are physically with Guru or they are far away physically from Guru, or Guru has apparently, to our vision, he has left, although Gurudev also said to the disciples of Srila Prabhupada in Prabhupada's final days, don't think that your Guru is leaving. He is always present, always present. This takes some advancement to have some complete conviction in this, right? By dint of one's internal experiences that are coming and reciprocation with Sri Guru. But in the case, like you're describing, that a devotee is sincerely praying, oh Sri Gurudev, I don't have mood. I've come to the Dham and I'm not feeling this mood. But I want to have this. I want to please you. And in the course of our endeavor to be with him physically, even, and to perform those activities every single day, absolutely, there will be so much perceived benefit as well as unperceived benefit. The unperceived benefit are the samskars. Srila Gurudev told, like seeds being planted. He said, you cannot understand what is happening, that you are here and all you are coming on this parikrama and undergoing so many different pains and austerities and so forth, right? So you cannot see, but we can see. So it is a fact. Samskaras, they are gradually being developed internally within the devotee, and mercy of Sri Guru is coming, because yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. For sure, Sri Guru, his mercy is coming. Any devotee that makes a bit of advancement and starts coming into Madhyam Adhikar, beginning stage of, or even the highest stage of Kanishta, they can know this, they can perceive. They know how I have to always be acting properly as Sri Guru wants me to do in my life. I have to be very diligent about this. They can perceive when Guru is pleased, when Guru is not pleased. I remember the last time that Sri Gurudev was here, not in Badger, but after the Badger festival, then he went to Ojai. And he was staying there at Brajesh Krishna Bhamini's house. And there was a meeting on a pool, on the pool side there, meeting meaning darshan Gurudev was giving. And Gurudev, one devotee asked Gurudev the question, how can we know that our Guru is pleased with us? I'm not going to tell the background of who was asking and all of this. But Srila Gurudev answered, you will be happy. You will be happy. If Guru is pleased with you, you will be happy. And Krishna will be pleased also. So it takes dedication. Sometimes we may not have association so readily available to us in our lives at different time periods, different places, circumstances. We've all experienced this, right? But the special opportunity in the human form of life to actually have Sadguru and then to be able to come by his mercy, by his blessings, by his invitation, to go to the holy Dham and do those very powerful activities, because in the Dham, the activities' benefits are amplified and increased. So Srila Gurudev knew so well how this will benefit all these jivas. And, you know, over the years of his inviting so many thousands of devotees, received so much benefit from that. So I think in this way, what we're hearing here in Sri Upadeshamrita from Srila Rupa Goswami about the glories of Sri Radha Kunda and how powerful bathing even once in the waters of Radha Kunda. We're hearing this. We're understanding from our acharyas what that constitutes, bathing, the aprakrita snan and all of that. And this becomes an image in our mind and heart that I want to one day, because it's actually available to us, but it's still not within our grasp, because we have to advance. And by the dint of that advancement, step by step, one day will come. Maybe not even in this life, in the next life, or the next life. But that day will come, because this great good fortune of being in this sampradaya, Rupanuga sampradaya, it will come. And we'll actually enter into Sri Radha Kunda, the actual aprakrita dham, you know. But in the meantime, we accept drishyaman prakash, that's what it's called, the outward representation that we can see with our material eyes and so forth. We can see the land, the water, the stones, and so forth. That's called drishyaman prakash. It's a form of the dham for the conditioned souls to come and to perform worship, right? But as we advance, then these moods will come step by step, right? Okay.
There's a light story. I was once at a Gurudev was speaking at some place. In my mind, I was thinking, "Oh Gurudev, why can't I cry? Why can't I cry?" And then when everything was finished, I stood up abruptly, and there was a branch above my head, and I smashed my head and I started crying. So Gurudev will fulfill our desires.
And that purified you also. Jai. Okay, Shri Upadeshamritam ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai, Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe, Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe, Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath Radhe, Jaya Radha Gopinath, Radha Gopinath Radhe, Jaya Radha Vinodi Hari, Radha Vinodi Hari Radhe, Radha Vinodi Hari, Radha Vinodi Hari Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Jai Saparikar Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Girinhari Radha Govinda Jiyo Ki Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gauru Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo